Shavua Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi, Masechet Nedarim. We are up to Perek Chet Mishnah Bet. Today's Mishnayot should be Leilu Nishmat, Neria ben Svetlana, Aranbai, Eliyahu ben Burcha Israel, Ben Chana bad Miriam, Menuchatam began Eden, Amen, Elavdi ben Chaim lechaim, V'derefua Shenemav, Daniel Shalom ben Rosa, and Asher ben Gabriel, Betoch Shach Chulei Israel. Mishnah Bet discusses other Nedarim with time limits. Ad Pesach, if someone made a Neder, prohibiting an item until Pesach. For example, he said, wine shall be forbidden to me until Pesach. Asurat she'agia is forbidden to taste wine only until Pesach arrives, but not during the holiday of Pesach itself, because when people say until an event, they mean until that event, but not including it. Ad she'yeheh, but if he said until Pesach is, asurat she'etzeh, he is forbidden to taste wine until Pesach ends, but because when people say until it is, they mean until and including the event itself. Ad lifnei Pesach, if he said until before Pesach, which can either mean until the first moment of Pesach or until the last moment of Pesach. Now the expression before Pesach is somewhat unclear. Taken simply, it means before the beginning of Pesach. However, it can also refer to the days of Pesach itself, because each day is before what remains of the festival. Understood this way, the phrase might mean before the last moment of Pesach, which would include the entire holiday until just before the final moment. So when someone prohibits wine until before Pesach, we are unsure which meaning he intends, and the Mishnah cites a dispute as to which meaning is the correct one. Rabbi Meir says, Asurat she'agia, he is forbidden to taste wine only until Pesach arrives. We assume that a person does not intentionally say something that puts him in an uncertain position. Therefore, when this person said until before Pesach, he must have meant the time that can certainly be called before Pesach, meaning until the moment before the beginning of Pesach. If he meant before the beginning of Pesach, his neder would have a specific known duration, for it will certainly end the moment before Pesach begins. However, if he meant before the remainder of Pesach, we do not really know when the neder ends, because he could be referring to any point in time during the holiday. He would therefore be in an uncertain position regarding the length of the prohibition he made. Meir is a general rule that people do not place themselves in uncertain situations. He rules therefore that the person could not have meant before the remainder of Pesach, which is not clearly defined. Rather, he must have meant before the beginning of Pesach, which has only one definition. Rabbi Yossi says, Asurat she'etzeh, he is forbidden to taste wine until Pesach ends. According to Rabbi Yossi, a person does not always avoid putting himself in an uncertain position. Therefore, since his neder can also mean until before the last moment of Pesach, he is forbidden to taste wine until the end of the holiday, so that he will observe the neder according to all of its possible interpretations. And the Rav does tell us, V'alcha Rabbi Yossi, the Halacha does follow the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. That is the end of Mishnah Bet. Mishnah Gimel continues, Ada Katsir, if someone made a neder prohibiting an item until the grain harvest, Ada Batsir, or until the grape harvest, Ada Masik, or until the olive harvest, and Asur elat she'agia, that item is forbidden only until the harvest arrives, meaning the start of the harvest. Now this law applies not only where the person says until the harvest, but even where he says until the harvest is, even though the previous Mishnah taught us that until Pesach is includes the entire holiday, until the harvest is means only until the beginning of the harvest. And the Mishnah cites the rule on which these laws are based. This is the general rule. Any event whose time is fixed, meaning it lasts for a set amount of time, such as Pesach, which lasts 7 days in Eretz Israel. If someone said that an item is forbidden until that event arrives, Asurat she'agia, it is forbidden only until the event arrives. Although the event may continue for some time, the neder ends as soon as the event begins. And the same applies if he just said until the event without adding the word arrives, like we learned in the previous Mishnah. Amarat sheyeh, but if he said until the event is, asurat she'etzeh, it is forbidden until the event ends. Since he knows beforehand how long the event will last, we assume that he meant the simple definition of until it is, meaning until and including the event itself. So for this reason, the previous Mishnah ruled that if someone made a neder not to taste wine until Pesach is, it lasts until the festival ends. The kol shen zmano kavua, however, regarding any event whose time is not fixed, meaning it does not last for a set amount of time, such as the harvest, which varies in length depending on the size of the crop, ben amar ad sheyeh, whether he said until that event is, ben amar ad she'agia, or whether he said until that event arrives, and no asur elat she'agia is forbidden only until the event arrives. A person does not usually make a neder in such a way that he does not know when the prohibition will end. So even if he said regarding the harvest or other event of uncertain length until it is, he presumably meant for his neder to last only until the start of that event, rather than to bind himself by prohibition with no definite time limit. And that is the Rabotai of today's Mishna Yomi. Everybody should have a Shavua Tov. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.